And it says we are live. Welcome to JPS podcast number 3, sort of podcast thing, where today we're going to be talking about there's a flat earth booklets out there called Hoax. The link is in the description to where you can get your own copy and follow along or check it out. It's pretty interesting. It's sort of like a coffee table book that apparently costs too much to actually print and do a run and sell and hand out to people because it's a lot of color photographs. And we're going to be talking about what they're actually showing in the pictures as to how that correlates to a proof for a flat earth or what they're going to be showing. Of course, Jeremy is here as always. And the caption here on the cover here is it possible your entire life is a lie? I'm going to say, no, it isn't possible. But when you look at something, you look at like the education system, the public education system really is about dumbing your kids down, and things like the environmental movement and global warming is really actually global cooling and kind of destroying the environment, and the kind of the upside down topsy-turvy world and the things that people are taught to believe, how a lot of it just isn't so. So, well, what do you have anything to say about that, Jeremy?
I agree with everything you said there.
You're impossible. Your entire life is a lie. Generally, if anything says something like, here's a great example that's very recent. There's an organization out there that calls itself Black Lives Matter. Make no bones about it. They are dedicated to destroying black people. Okay. They may not think it. The black people involved in it may not think it, but at the top of that organization, there's a bunch of white people for some reason. And what they're coaxing them to do is go out and cause trouble to get them thrown in prison. Does that sound like they're doing something good for them? No. And you can take any organization that's out there that says it's for something, and what they're really doing is actually quite the opposite. And that's what this is about. And of course, with the hey, Jeremy, did you find proof that the Earth is a globe?
No,
in the last week? You did not, and you looked far and wide and hard and all that, right?
I looked as far as I could with my P1000.
There we go. There we go. I came across a site, I think it's Conspiracy Truth 2, or I think is the name of it, where what I would like to be doing more of is people doing experiments in their backyard or a local lake or something. And this person did a laser light over 16 miles, 6 inches off the water. Could be seen with the P900 or whatever he was using with no problems. And that's 6 inches off the water. So there's no curve, no curve. Easily repeatable by anyone with a pen laser and a camera. You don't even think you needed a camera. You could see it with a naked eye. It's craziness. So we have is the book Hoaxed. People who are just joining up, I do have a link to it in the description. It's just a PDF file, nothing spooky, scary in there. And it's kind of like a picture coffee table book. So we'll start taking a look at what we have. Some of this might show up a little bit small on the YouTube here. But so we'll read through some of this. The world we are told to imagine, of course, and we have our ball in the palms of hands. The flat Earth, the idea the Earth is flat is probably at first thought one of the most ridiculous concepts anyone can mention. Ridiculed concepts anyone can mention. It is synonymous with moron, idiot, and other derogatory terms, and met with anger at times. Some questions I have are, why do people dismiss and attack the idea of a flat Earth? What proof do they have that we will live on a spinning ball flying through infinite space? Most people, including myself, when first presented with the idea, refuse to even look at any of it. We believe we all have the proof needed to know we live on a ball Earth, and will dismiss it without further thought. That's the thing, is everyone thinks they have proof. Everyone thinks it's all been done and all the science is there, and there is none. When you actually, even if just doing a very basic survey, most people before they're flat earthers, they're trying to disprove it, right? Isn't that everybody? Because nobody wants to be a flat earther, right?
No.
Nobody wants to be. It's not until we get annoyed enough that the flat earth nonsense that we try to prove that the earth is indeed a globe, and that's when our lives are flipped upside down. We do not live in a spinning ball. And this book is produced by Flat Earth Podcast, which is Dave Weiss, who I've mentioned before, who knows a great deal more than me, actually, about flat earth and proofs and putting together stuff for it. So here we have some faith versus religion aspects. I'm not going to read all of this, but 14 billion years ago, there was nothing. and it exploded into all we see. That's taught in school, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing exploded, and that gave us people. All right. So these are some of the things that are put in there, and it says at the bottom here, all by accident on a random spinning rock moving in 4 different directions at speeds the human mind can't even comprehend. All this we are told to believe while we sit here perfectly still. That's science. But asking where's the rest of Antarctica is ridiculous. So here we are. Fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusionary worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning. They begin sensing that something is amiss and start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experiences show them a side of reality others are oblivious to. And so begins the journey of the awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over veils of ignorance. Hooray. So it looks like we got here is the map that they chose to include, or one of them, just a picture of one.
I'm familiar with this map.
Yeah, this is if we live on an extended Earth plane, is there more land? So perhaps this is us in the middle of the circle and our sun and moon, and here's our Antarctica, and then maybe outside that there's yet another one. As an idea, it's one of those unprovable things, just ideas of why people would hide this sort of information. I think it's just control myself, but could be. This here is an image that we brought up last time, where we actually brought up the animated GIF, where you can see you've got the sun's going 660,000 miles per hour. The Earth is spinning around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour. And this whole thing is kind of careening through. And the North Star is always in the same spot. And everything hasn't changed in thousands of years. But yeah, we're moving like crazy. All of the other planets and their moons are doing the same thing, all held together by magic gravity from the sun and themselves, while none of those forces mess with each other, right? There's just enough gravity to lift our oceans up for tides from the moon, but not enough to make it either A, crash into the Earth, or B, fly off towards the sun. It's just perfectly balanced, just like everything else. It's a fairy tale. The reason you can't feel it spinning is because it is not spinning. A good picture. See? Oh, you can't get much more profound than that. Okay, this right here is an image of, this is a flight from Australia to, I forget what city in South America. As you can tell by looking at it, it looks like you would just follow one particular line of latitude, would be the shortest distance, but the flights all go up to America, over to the east of America, and then back down. Why? Because this is on a globe Earth, and then you take the same flight on a flat Earth, and gee, it makes a little bit more sense. And there's a lot of flights that are like this. Obviously, there's thousands and thousands of flights. So one flight is not proof of anything. There's a lot of them. Okay. Here we're talking about space last time, and really we've only had one image of the Earth. This is the one taken from 1975, which you can tell the way that it looks, it has this shadow here. That's because they're flying in a balloon and they held the camera up to the window with a shader on it. And that's how they got that pic. But you can tell from the years, you can tell they're cartoons, and the sizes of the continents all change. Like here, America is like Super America. We got ourselves a cape in America, Super America. And you can tell, it's like, and this one and the one from 2002, there's like a whole ton of copied clouds and things in here. Running around your neighborhood doesn't make your neighborhood a sphere. Antarctica is the shoreline of the Great Earth Pond. What this is referring to is an objection that you can't circumnavigate a flat Earth, which is incorrect. They're showing you how it's done, and this is actually how people circumnavigate what they think is a globe Earth. It's done the exact same way. What you don't see on either model is anyone going north to south circumnavigation. No one's ever done that. Where you fly up over the North Pole and down through the South Pole, never happens. I wonder why. It's because the Earth's flat. You can't fly over the South Pole. The South Pole doesn't even exist. It's a ring. Here, as we go back to our Earth photo, the famous blue marble shot was created in Photoshop. And with Photoshop tools, you can see where they're masking, copying, and pasting clouds and what an artist's conception of what a ball Earth would look like. And these aren't official NASA photographs. These are any of this information. You can just type a YouTube search and get a video on it. This stuff is kind of all over the place. It's flat. Yes, it is. So here's the idea of perspective. The sun gets eclipsed by clouds and mountains and moves over the flat Earth. This is how perspective works. It's like, well, if the Earth is flat, then how come you can't see the sun 1,000 miles away? Obviously, it's perspective. Atmosphere, without the nitrogen, we'd be swimming in our atmosphere. So it's pretty dense. People don't notice it because this is our environment, but it's pretty dense. And light does not travel forever. We always love the ISS space station. I think I brought this up. There is not an electrician in the world who would install cables and wires like this. What do you think, Jeremy? You're gonna have a space station where things are floating around everywhere, and you're gonna have your network cables and all of your wires just exposed like that, you think?
No, it's a fire hazard.
Oh, it's not only that, but if you're floating around and something gets jostled, wouldn't your feet get caught in some of this stuff?
You get caught in it. I mean, you could pull it out. You get electrocuted. I mean, it's a safety hazard.
It's like nothing is covered. Why? Do they think it looks more spacey like that? I mean, you think like, what would be the logical reasoning for building a set that looks like that? Because even submarine, I mean, you would think like an equatable thing would be like something like a submarine. A submarine does not have wires just open and exposed all over the place for people to trip on.
Right.
If you think you live here, I'm going to level with you. You don't. It's a painting. Yeah. Official photo. Nope. Painting. Proven painting. This here would be an artist's conception of what the best idea for what our Earth actually looks like. Of course, with the dome and everything.
That's the most believable.
Right. And with the sun, do you think the sun's inside or outside the dome?
I think it's in the firmament itself. And that's what the says.
You think it's actually inside of it?
Yeah. Like if you read Genesis chapter 1, he sets them in the firmament, meaning that they're in it, like they're actually in the firmament.
Huh. I don't know. All I know is when you take a pen light and you shine it through a snow globe, you get the same sort of effects as what you would get from day and night.
Well, like I said, we don't know how thick the firmament is between here and God's, throne.
Oh, sure. I got you. I got your line of thinking there. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. Ooh, ouch. We know what goes on in Hollywood basements. Tell them while they are young and they will believe. See, if you notice, like, unfortunately, the first 40 minutes of our live stream on NASA got clipped, but all of the things they bring up to the ISS to make children's programming. They get stuffed animals and bears and costumes and all this stuff. And it's like people are seriously spending billions of dollars to put stuffed animals up in the ISS so they can make children's programming. No, I think it's probably more likely they're sitting in front of a chroma key with an artist rendition thing and CGI. But that's what it's all about. Is got to get the kids. We got to keep Star Trek on the air. We don't care if nobody watches it. We got to pretend people like it. What it feels like when you realize the Earth is flat. And you got Neo waking up out of the pod. There you go, is your red pill.
That's pretty much me.
And everyone else is still plugged into the lies, man. It's getting better. There's a lot of flat Earth people out there. Unplug from the matrix of deception and research flat Earth. Knowing we live on a flat stationary plains opens your mind to see through other deceptions. Well, honestly, I don't think you start with the flat Earth. I think you probably start with How did we get involved in Vietnam? Start with that stuff. Start with the things that are like declassified documents of, oh yeah, we ordered I think the Israelis to fire on our own ships to get us into war. I mean, that's what the declassified documents say. It was a total false flag. And when
Just
you
like
have declassified government documents that you pay to keep you safe, putting you in wars, and like 70,000 Americans died in Vietnam, all over a false flag. You need to be aware of that stuff before you go into flat Earth, because everyone wants to think these people tell the truth. Oh, how could so many people be deceived? It's not that hard. I mean, how many people knew what was going on in the Gulf of Tonkin? The people on the boat. That's about it. Maybe they didn't even know. All right. A couple of pilots. That's it.
look at Nazi Germany.
Yeah. No one in human history, as far as I know, has thought the Earth was flat. And this was from Professor Brian Cox. I don't know who that is, but it's a modern day saying to think that all Earth has never believed in it was flat, and that's an ancient tribal myth. And we go through here. We got Greek, Navajo, Babylonian, Mesa, Japanese, Persian, Viking, Indian, Mayan, NASA in the middle is a ball, Incan, Hebrew, Australian, Chinese, Celtic, Chumash, Slavic, African, Sumerian, Masonic, Islamic, Roman, and Egyptian. Everybody depicts a flat Earth with a dome on top. All throughout all of that, and including America in the 1800s. Very early 1900s, as part of public education. Yes. The Earth is flat. Here we have a beautiful horizon line. Everything is as it should be.
I mean, this is almost comical at this point.
Yes, it is. It's severe mind control when people have a very emotional objection to flat Earth just by even discussing it. You know, it's psychological. The same thing with like evolution, where it's like you're almost hitting their morality, or people don't want to admit the fact that they were deceived so heavily for so long, and a lot of PTSD goes into that. When you figure out that your world is crumbling around you. I mean, obviously. Now, this one I kind of sort of get, but it's not a very good depiction of what they're doing here. See, the idea here is if you look at a plane in the distance, this is what it should look like. It shouldn't be up in the sky traveling away from you. It should actually look like it's going over the horizon, is what they're trying to relay here. It's not that great of a it's kind of a stretch the way that they put this on here, but
it's not going to be pointed down like that. Most of the time, it's going to be on its side.
Yeah, and here's what you have to keep in mind is that planes, the faster they go and the farther they travel, should be pitching down because they have to ride the globe. Now, a fighter pilot, if anyone's a fighter pilot or knows a fighter pilot or flies for the military, if you're going like 1,500 miles an hour in your jet and you're traveling for like 10 minutes, is like 250 miles, you're going to have 50,000 feet of drop. You're going to need to pitch down to keep your plane level. And every single aircraft and all of the instruments on the aircraft all revolve around the fact the Earth is flat. Okay. The radar systems, weapon systems, the flight control systems, everything. And that matches what we observe. Planes higher than us fly away above the horizon off into the distance. If we were in a plane and we were following planes, our horizon would be eye level. And if there was a plane above us, it would be above the horizon. If there was a plane below us, it would be below the horizon from our perspective. That's only possible on a flat plane. No other way. These here is an interesting picture. I don't know if we brought that up, but this is the Apollo astronauts immediately after coming home from the moon. They're like, yeah, good job, guys. They're like, yeah, time to sit here and get grilled and lie.
I just don't know how you can sleep at night, like, just lying to the whole world like that.
Well, you have to be free. You have to be Mormon in order to be in space. So high Freemasonic Mormons.
Kill your
And
conscience.
yeah, well, I don't think that these guys killed their conscience. I think that they were kind of told something else and didn't realize they would have to do all of the PR work and all of the answering interviews and lie consistently. They thought
Yeah.
the government was probably going to lie for them. Nope. Nope. No. Did they wheeled out the old television for you guys, or was that before your time for the Challenger? That could have been before
I
your
remember.
time.
I remember it being on like when I was like 5 years old. I remember seeing programs about it.
Yeah, see, I'm a few years older, like 5 years older. They wheeled out the old movie time television, and apparently they did this for every school in America, right? So you know it's a psyop. Wheeling out the old rickety old TV so we can watch the Challenger because there's a school teacher on it, right? And then they have it explode, and that's supposed to traumatize people. I must be a cold, callous kid because I didn't really care. But it turns out that all these people are still alive from the Challenger, and they didn't even change their names. Isn't that interesting? No one's going to bring that up. These are your Challenger crew alive and well on Facebook. Hooray. You go, government. You go. And then I think one of them died of natural causes, but there you go. There's your crew that supposedly went poof. Because see, that's what happens, when who knows with the Challenger. I'm thinking they meant to explode it, but if it didn't mean to explode, you've got these people that are supposed to be on the thing. What do you do with them?
There was nobody on it.
Well, I mean, do you think that they intentionally blew it up?
Yes.
I don't know. I think accidents happen, but yeah, probably did. But then when you have an accident like that, or people are supposed to be on it, then it's like, oh, now you have to get rid of them and put them on an island in the middle of nowhere. Not these guys. Not before Facebook. They just went back to their life, got a new job somewhere. Yep.
Because everybody forgot about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no Facebook and no internet. There's no way to track people back then. 1980, what is that? 86? Yeah, 86.
Yeah, it was 1986 when it happened.
About as high tech as we had then there was calling 411. I'd like to find Sharon Krista McAuliffe, please. Yeah. Red Bull space jump 127,000 feet. Here's our look at that. We live on a little tiny marble. we look at the side. We all live on a little tiny marble. It's a ridiculous level of curvature on that.
And this is the one I talked about where they goofed and actually did not put the fisheye lens in one shot, and it was flat.
Yeah, the one that was inside the cabin.
Right.
I think this is this is a weather balloon. Flat earthers have been sending weather balloons up because they only cost a couple $1,000. And they went up to 120,000 feet, and there's your footage from 120,000 feet. And you can say, well, they just have a reason to fake it. Now, look, guys, nobody has a reason to fake flat earth anything. No one wants to be a flat earther. No one. We just want proof. It's almost like we have to keep going out and proving it just to prove it to ourselves. That's how strong the psyop is. Like, you wake up and you go, boy, is the earth really flat? I don't know. Even though you have no reason to disbelieve it, you proved it over and over and over again. We still need more proof.
Well, it's like with me, growing up, I used to be big into astronomy, and I used to love stars and constellations and traveling the universe. I used to think, when I was a kid, growing up in a Christian home, that we were going to go to the new Earth one day and explore the cosmos, and that was a big bummer for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I figured that's pretty much how it changed my life. I guess Star Trek's a hoax or something. I mean, that's how it is. I still like my Battlestar Galactica. I can still make believe that there's space out there. It's all fake anyway. Fascinating, isn't it? Those who take the time to research the flat earth become flat earthers. The only way to become a flat earther is to try to prove the earth is a globe. So yeah, anyone who wants to you get a lot of the emotional flack, or people are like, but I measure water curve for my job. It's like, shut up. Nobody measures water curve for their job. Just be quiet, go out and go look across the lake and see what you can see. Okay, that's it. Not making wild. I mean, we're making wild, fantastic claims, but not in the way to prove it. It's not like, see, what you need to do is get a spectromographer, an electron microscope, and then you buy ta-da. I mean, obviously it's flat. No, I say go outside, go to a lake, or if you live in an arid desert type area, go to a place where you've got like five miles of straight stuff you can see, and then just look. see a landmark that's a couple of miles away and see how much of it you can see, right? Because you should be dealing with earth curve. Once you get over about 3 miles, that should be the limit to what you can see of something that's like your height, your eye level. So if you've got a tower out there 3 miles away, as you look off into the horizon, it shouldn't matter if you're using optics like a camera or whatever. As you look out there past 3 miles, you should be missing 6 feet of the bottom of that structure. Should be hidden by earth curve. It's never the case. Not one time is it ever the case. As soon as you zoom in, there's the entire structure. There's the horizon behind the structure. And it's all just a matter of perspective.
Oh, but you see, it's so big that you can't see it.
That's right. And it's an illusion. Well, they say it's a mirage.
It's a mirage.
That's right. So these are some different pictures that are taken. Obviously, one's from a balloon. Here is the Salt Plains. I guess this would be someplace in like South Dakota or Wyoming. No curve. Things flat to flat. And these are really wide angle lenses. What happens with your normal eyes actually is you look out, you do get a little bit of bending just because of your perspective. But in a picture, you're not going to see any of that. 100% proof that the North Pole people on Jupiter celebrate 100% proof that the North Pole people on Jupiter celebrate the 4th of July. Official NASA photo. This is an official NASA photo? Really? So at some point, apparently, I'm not familiar with the story, NASA released a photo of this going on Jupiter.
What did it do? Grow some hair?
No, you see this little blue stuff on the top?
I grew some hair.
Deep inside the rabbit hole did it for cheaper. No budget. Budget of hundreds of billions for NASA. This is an interesting one. Jet streams on a globe Earth versus flat Earth. And this also is ocean currents. Which one makes more sense? So this is the globe Earth jet stream model. No idea what's going on there and why it would be doing that. And over here on the right, you have the flat Earth model jet stream. It just looks a little better. I mean, in and of itself, it doesn't prove anything. But what makes more sense to you? I mean, especially considering we have the sun moving around here. So yeah. Red Bull's fake space jump. Felix Baumgartner supposedly ascended over 23 miles, which took 2.5 hours. He launched from New Mexico and landed in New Mexico 55 miles away. Did the Earth forget to spin? Well, they always claim gravity on that, don't they? Or they say that the atmosphere moves with the Earth.
Yeah, but he was outside the Earth supposed atmosphere. So how does that work?
Oh, yeah. How does that work? See, I don't know everything about all this stuff. Yeah, I guess that doesn't work. He's outside. The other thing is, too, the atmosphere spins faster than the Earth does. So how they figure that out?
Because technically 100,000 feet is where the atmosphere stops. And he was 127,000 feet. So first of all, my question is, what did he jump from and how did he get up there? How do you handle the pressure? Because they have to wear, special suits.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy looks like he's wearing basically just a spandex suit with a helmet.
Oh, yeah, because we had our video where apparently water bubbles at only like 50,000 feet. That guy that was doing the U-2, he was dressed up like a U-2 pilot, and they ascended him up to 50,000 feet and water was already boiling. And then you went to 70,000 feet, and that's when they like blew the canopy off and did all their simulation and everything. So yeah, he's up in his little thing. There's no way he's that high then.
No.
Well, that's an interesting thing I never even considered.
I mean, at least maybe 45,000 feet.
I don't know. I suppose. I mean, it's not like vacuum. We're still not at a vacuum. It's just a reduction in pressure.
Right.
So this picture, I am not sure what they're trying to get at. Do you know what they're trying to get at with this one?
I have never seen this before. But supposedly, like if you've seen pictures of the ice wall, it's not a perfect circle. But I guess that's what they're getting that at.
Is this? You're not familiar with the photo, so we have no idea what this is for.
I have never seen this one before. No.
Water always seeks its own level, not its own curve. Yes. This is the big thing. Is like, yeah, we don't need to come up with models. We don't need to come up with how the sun and the moon and the stars work. We don't need any of that. 8 inches per mile squared. That's all you need. And water doesn't bend. There you go. All the proof you need to prove anything about the Earth being flat. That's it. And then you can go on to say that absolutely zero jobs, zero technology, zero anything figures in the curvature of the Earth for it to work. Nothing. Unless you want to talk about Google Maps, which is all phony baloney. Let's see. Before you attempt to insult flat earthers, understand that math and science disprove curvature and motion. Yes. Most of the big mind control ones like evolution and Earth being a globe they disprove, or the science just blatantly disproves them. Like second law of thermodynamics pretty much takes care of all of these fantasy religions that are brought about by the humanists and the current day science people. Second law of thermodynamics just rules out evolution, and it rules out this idea that we're going to have an atmosphere in space, a vacuum with no barrier is stupid.
That's something you just brought up there. No barrier on a vacuum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a common argument, and no one, I don't think a lot of people understand what we're even talking about, which is why I stick to 8 inches per mile squared, because people understand that. If you're on a ball, there's going to be a curve to the ball. The farther you go away from where you're standing or whatever. And people can get that. And here's one that I always bring up because I actually know, I'm pretty sure that this is Warbirds flight simulators. I played a ton of them. Many of days, hours, maybe even months worth of playtime in these games in my early 20s.
So
and this in the middle here is actually something they copy and pasted onto a World War II game, because the actual instruments don't look like that. But
no,
this here in the middle is essentially your not your heading, but your ATA, angle of attack. It's your pitch indicator, whether or not your nose is up, nose is down, and your artificial horizon is this red line. Okay, if you're flying flat and straight and true and level, and your plane is trimmed all so you can take your hands off the controls and it just flies straight, okay, this is what it looks like in this indicator. If we were on a ball, you couldn't do that. You would always have to pitch the nose of the plane down. The faster you go, the more you got to pitch down. There's no point in really even having an artificial horizon because it's pointless. And that's not what happens. When you're in a plane, you fly straight, true, and level. And when you're on a boat, same thing. If you are actually pitching the aircraft down to maintain your altitude, if you are actually pitching the aircraft down, you would feel it like going down in an elevator. Everyone knows what descending in an aircraft feels like if you've been on a plane. And that's why they are called airplanes and not air globes. Here we go. There's a bunch of these construction projects all over the planet. The largest one here, the Suez Canal. Connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea is 100 miles long without any locks, making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and the water surface running perfectly parallel over the 100 miles. If the Earth were a sphere, there should have been 6,666 feet of curvature. So what they're saying is they just went by whatever the water level is and dug down off the top of the water level. And it was always completely flat the entire way. There was no extra digging. Perfectly flat. Same with bridges. They build bridges that are 100 miles long in China, and they don't calculate Earth curve. Very difficult to actually try and do that. Curved bridge around Earth curve. How about this one? What do you got for this one, Jeremy? Just another artist rendition, or?
Another artist rendition, and basically, I've seen one similar to this from the 1800s where it's a square Earth, like basically the ice shelf is squared out on the edges, and I don't know how that works.
Is that how we have the corners of the Earth or something like that?
Right. That's where they get that from.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that's a figure of speech, maybe. I don't know. Kind of like the Jews marring the corners of their beard or the corners of their hat or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Sure, but to say that the Earth as a ball has corners, that's ridiculous as well.
Oh yeah, that's completely ridiculous. I mean, it says the circle of the Earth though too in the Bible.
Right, and also, if you want to be technical with the corners of the Earth, I mean, just look at it the way it is right now. You have Australia, that's a corner. You have the tip of Africa, that's a corner. And then you have South America, that's a corner. And then I would guess like maybe Alaska. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the best explanation I've heard actually came from Brett at the Last Generation, who equated all of that things to as a field, because everything is about planting and sowing and reaping, and it's a parallel to a field and a harvest. Mm-hmm. And I think I like that. We'll just use a field analogy. These are the different guessing flat Earth maps that are out there. All the different ones.
I've seen all those.
All the different.
My favorite is the one that's got Asgard and Odin in it.
Oh yeah, is that a popular one amongst the flat Earth?
That's people? A popular one now because apparently Odin's a real place.
Well, there's apparently people that worship Odin and are into what is that, Norse mythology or something?
Right.
93 million miles away, ? And I'm not exactly understanding where the proof is in this, other than it looks close.
This was like just a couple 100 miles away.
Yeah, that's what you get out of it.
I mean, everything I've read, the sun is between 100 and 150 miles off the Earth's surface.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if it was 93 million miles away, you wouldn't have like the rays going down specifically, like very localized,
Right.
But again, if it's going through a medium such as, clouds and atmosphere, things can probably behave that way. I don't know. It's a nice picture, though. I like it. The reason we can't see all the way across the Earth is because of air density, not curvature. Yes. Like the fish probably don't think that they're swimming in water because they live in it, right? We live in air, but really it is a dense medium when you take the nitrogen out. It'd be pretty soggy without the nitrogen. Flat Earth fact number 98. NASA and modern astronomy say Polaris, the North Pole star, is somewhere between 323 to 434 light years, or about 2 quadrillion miles away from us. Firstly, note that this is between however many miles. What is that? A trillion? A trillion 938 billion? Yeah. Or quadrillion? No, is that quadrillion? I don't know. It's too big. Making the difference of 666 trillion miles. If modern astronomy cannot even agree on the distance to the stars within hundreds of trillions of miles, perhaps their science is flawed. Yeah, that has to do with their huge numbers of variances in leeway. So there's absolutely no accurate way they can judge where the stars are. They look up there and they see a pinpoint of light, just like when you look out in the backyard, you see a pinpoint of light. That's what you got. Oh yeah, here we go. The little chevron here means something in esoteric stuff. Yeah, and it has to do with a serpent. I forget what the other meaning was for it. You got anything on that, Jeremy?
No, I just know about the serpent thing.
Yeah, the chevron is used in all of the space agencies, so there is something to it. I just don't remember off the top of my head. Wasn't very important, but every space agency uses this chevron, and like Air Force, I think, do too. Has something to do with going up. Is it like who's
As
the guy that?
above, so below.
Yeah, is it? Well,
I
that's
think so.
The who's the guy who flew to the sun? Was that Apollo? Melted his
Yeah,
wings off or something? One
something
dude
like
melted
that.
his wings off. I think that's the deal with that. So here we've got our blue screen and some guy pretending to work on a satellite, right? And then we've got the same picture down below, or we'll just put the moon in there, like a good Hollywood production. Because we need our canvas bags in space, right? Because we got to go green, right? And when I think space, I think canvas bags. He needs his sandals or something to go with his canvas bags. Here we have a demonstration of how easy it is to fake this stuff. In modern day technology, it's so easy. You honestly have to be looking for the television tricks, because your eye sometimes they put crappy CGI in movies just so you so they can gauge how much CGI a person can actually process. Like some movies that you don't like just because there's too much CGI and they're so fake looking. Other ones that's so seamlessly integrated you don't even notice it. And unless you go to a movie, you're expecting to see CGI, so you're expecting to like look for it and pick it out. But if you're watching a news broadcast or see a picture in a magazine or something, you're not expecting CGI. Good. This is how easy it is. You got Sparky on an Apple box holding a model in a green room. And there you go. This is an interesting deal. Very interesting how they would do the hear no, see no, speak no evil. And the original guys did that too. Huh. I wonder. And of course, we have more wires all over the place. Don't trip. Hey, look, they got P900s too. And they're proving flat Earth too up there. This here is Neil Armstrong's moon landing spacesuit preserved in a museum does not match his boot print on the moon. Yeah, that's a problem. And we got his spacesuit. It's in the Smithsonian, probably insured for hundreds of millions of dollars, and they didn't even use the same boot print. They needed something more photogenic to have their first steps on the moon other than this. Like who would want to wear a boot that doesn't have any grip on it? They thought you go up on space in this rocky moon and you're wearing flip-flops or whatever. I don't know. Satellites do not exist. All intercontinental communications are done with an extensive submarine cable system. So this here is a picture of all of the different transatlantic and transpacific cables and how they connect and relate to everything. There's absolutely no need for satellites for missioning stuff. And I mean, you can talk to people in any country in the world for free on the internet. Are they bouncing that off of satellites? No. I mean, somebody who is in like China can play in a game from America and have like only a half a second of lag, which is actually a lot of lag. But that's not bouncing off a satellite going all the way from China to United States in a half a second. It's cables. Satellites are balloons.
Yes, sir.
Here's a picture of them launching a satellite with the big old balloon, and here's your satellite right there. Was this world map made 10 centuries ago? If there are many flat Earth maps that suggest there is more land beyond Antarctica. So I guess this ring here is Antarctica.
Right. And the other is supposed to be the land inside the snow and the ice, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that's an Admiral Byrd. If people want a fun rabbit trail to follow up on or look at, Admiral Byrd, B-Y-R-D, I believe is how he spells it. Youngest admiral that's ever been in the Navy, renowned explorer / Navy guy. Actually, television interviews on YouTube with him saying, yeah, he went to the Antarctic and flew through there, and he there are some stories where his notes say that he went into an underground sort of area with aliens, and there's another one where he's actually on television where he's talking about how he flew out over the wall and saw land as far as you could possibly see that went on for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And he's pretty easy to write off as a nutcase, but it is interesting. And he was a real, very incredibly decorated guy. And generally, they don't make admirals out of young, crazy people. Admiral's pretty hard to get to. My guess is he's a really, really high Freemason and part of the club. Is NASA faking pictures of the Earth, or is America really getting fatter? Wow. So this is the one from 2002. And then here's the one from 2012. They used the fisheye lens.
It looks like America is basically the Arctic Circle.
Now, keep in mind, people, these are official NASA photographs. All right? This is official. I like this. So they got the Walt Disney logo. Yeah, for anyone who didn't see the last thing, Walt Disney was and has been a part of NASA forever. Hence the picture of Pluto has Pluto on it. It says, we'll do your stuff, but I want my own planet. That's what Disney said. Here's a comedian. I believe we're living on a pressured ball spinning at 1,000 miles per hour next to a vacuum until I heard myself say it just now, which is about right. Yeah, we live on a pressurized ball spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, trailing the sun at 666,000 miles per hour. Sure. Until I just said it and thought about it. These real high altitude pictures of Earth are not possible on a ball. So there's more pictures of sending up the weather balloons or whatever kind of things they send up, high altitude balloons of whatever sort, and take images from very high up, and there is no curve. If you are ever having a bad day and not feeling very smart, just remember that most of your friends and family believe this trash can landed on the moon. Official NASA photo. This is the one I was talking about, Jeremy. When we were looking up this stuff, the ones you pull up on Google right away are doctored images. They cleaned them up and made them look a lot better. This is the original photograph, where you can tell it's copper tinfoil and cardboard. This is cardboard with like pencil drawings on it. A cardboard with pencil drawings, probably some cardboard tubes here. No, this would have been in the late 60s. So this would probably be tin. But what is this? What do they put on? What is that? Asbestos? They put asbestos on it or something? I mean, look how bad that looks. Oh, yeah, this is totally. Totally believable.
And the copper part even just looks like paper. It don't even look like foil.
Oh, it's got to be a foil. But then you notice like where they're parked, it's like they're on the beach and it's wet. Like it was a windy day in the desert. Oh, by the way, in the desert, the actual moon surface that what they say they landed on is in the desert, and you can see it on Google Maps. And the government says, yeah, it's there because that's where they trained, so they can recognize the terrain. That's what they say. Even though this thing right here, this mound, is actually in a picture with like the guy who was up there, Buzz Aldrin. He took a picture at the training ground, which they don't hide, and it's the exact same mountain behind him. So yeah, they went in the desert and blew up craters and did all this stuff to make it look like the moon so they could train. And it just so happens that area in the desert in Arizona looks exactly like what they have here. And it looks to me like this is wet. So it must have been a windy day in the desert, and they took the garden hose and sprayed it down so that there wouldn't be dust flying everywhere, because that would wreck the whole idea that we're in the vacuum of space, wouldn't it? If you have dust flying around in front of the camera.
My question is, why haven't we tried to go back to the moon since 72?
Because we discovered Van Allen radiation belts, and things only hurt us when we know about them.
We got such great technology today, but yet we don't go back. Okay.
Here's another angle of it. This is a little bit better, slightly more believable, but no, not really. You think this is going to stand up to the vacuum of space? I don't think so. Hey, here we go. Here's our favorite one, gravity. Strong enough to pull down apples and microphones, but not million-pound clouds of water. How about that? The gravity doesn't affect the clouds. Nope. Here's a ice wall picture. Antarctica, outer edge of our known world.
What is called the ice cliff from now on?
Yeah. Well, we don't know what because it looks like it's flat up here, right? So it's not like it's a wall. It's
right.
It's the shore. Right? It's just the shore. Because when you get up top, it's just flat again.
Right. It's just kind of like what a cliff is. That's where I get that from. Or what's that big one called? A plateau, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
A basin. I mean, basically, we're in a bowl. How about that?
Yeah, that works.
We're in a bowl. Question: if we lived on a ball orbiting around the sun, how is it possible that we see the same stars 6 months apart when we should be looking in the opposite direction? Answer: it wouldn't be possible at all. We live on a flat, stationary Earth plane. Yeah. This is absolutely right, but good luck trying to tell anybody how this works, because they won't get it. Because it took me a little bit to go in, and I'm actually an amateur astronomer guy with telescopes and stuff. You shouldn't have the exact same skyline every single night, regardless if it's winter or summer or whatever. It should change, especially when you're on the other side of the sun. In your yearly cycle, you should be looking at the exact same time in the wintertime. In the winter solstice, we'll say we should have completely different constellations than what we have in the summer solstice. But we don't. Hard one to unless I have a model, this is hard to explain. The Stargate,
it's like with me. It's like with me when I record my star videos and stuff. Polaris, the North Star, stays perfectly in the same spot every night.
Mm-hmm.
Every night.
Yeah. And you can Google time-lapse photos North Star, and it's by people who aren't flat earthers that just thought it'd be fun to set up a camera underneath the North Star, and they all track perfectly in a beautiful circle around the North Star that never moves. And yep. Here we have that awkward moment when a bunch of hot air ruins 400 years of brainwashing. So this is what's going on here. Obviously, when you realize, okay, you can do everything that they say they're doing in space from a balloon. But here's the other thing. This person who took this picture is in a balloon. So if you remember when I was talking earlier about being in a fighter jet, traveling however many miles per hour, and you have other jets with you, your horizon is, even though you're at 40,000 feet, your horizon is still eye level. And you can tell there's a jet above you because they are above the horizon from your perspective, and there's a jet below you because they're below the horizon from your perspective. This is the exact same thing in balloon form, where this person who took the picture is more than likely in a balloon. It looks like it's way too tall to be a tower. He's in a balloon. The horizon is matching his eye level from the observer point, and you can tell which balloons are higher than him and which balloons are lower than him because they're all above and below the horizon. We would not look like that if the Earth was a ball. You wouldn't be able to tell who was higher than what, because this whole area here would be, the horizon would be way closer, essentially. This one, the horizon is so horizontal. I agree.
It's been interesting. Horizon is in the word horizontal.
Yes. That is what they're, see, you're picking up stuff I don't get. What do we got here? This is a great picture.
It is beautiful. It's the salt flats in South America, I believe.
So that's not water or something, or what is? I don't
It's
even
salt.
know what the heck's going on there.
It's salt. Yeah, it's like a
Salt
little bit of
reflecting
water.
the sky.
Yeah, it's like salt with like a little bit of water on top of it. It's really neat. You ought to go look it up on YouTube.
What did the first man to reach the stratosphere have to say about the Earth's shape? It seemed like a flat disk with an upturned edge. Dr. Auguste Piccard, 1931. Well, I believe him. It's got his Piccard, right? Piccard. See, it looks like he would actually have something that he could do it in. He actually has a submarine attached to a balloon, right? He's not just in a Halloween costume. This is an actual, looks like it's a pressurized submarine sort of a thing that could actually hold up to reduced pressure. Official NASA photo with a big, huge ostrich. Who comes up with this stuff? Are they just trying to say like, yeah, let's just do this and see what people say?
Garbage.
The greatest technology accomplishment of all time. Not a single video of its construction. And this is the International Space Station.
Which means it doesn't exist.
Sorry for anybody who might just be listening. This would be very boring for you because we're going through a picture book. Let's see. We never went to the moon because it's not a place you can go to. And this is a picture of apparently the set. I don't know if it's real or if someone's making it. I would assume that it's real, coming from Dave Weiss. It's probably real, but can't confirm nor deny, but that would be about how they'd do it. These here are using simple geometry tells the sun rays are not coming from 93 million miles away.
No.
There is apparently an explanation for this, and honestly, if it was going through a dome, you would get something similar to this, depending. It doesn't really matter how far the sun is away. That being said, yes, using simple geometry, you can tell that the sun is not 93 million miles away without doing some, it's a mirage, or it only looks like it's doing that, which is what you get a lot in the round Earth. Round Earth can't prove anything beyond a doubt. Nothing. Literally nothing. Everything's a mirage. Everything's gravity. Yeah. It's like I can go outside and look at something far away and go, look, it's flat.
Everything's satellites.
Yeah. And here's the comparison here. Street light just above the trees has the exact same effect as the sun does as it's going through, getting shaded out by clouds or whatever it may be. and you can gauge using geometry just how far that light is. Not very far. Forget everything you've been told about, believe about the sun, and ask yourself, where is the light source? We got this is a jab at Steve Hawking, not the guy's name.
Yeah, Steve Hawking.
The life expectancy of a person with ALS averages about 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis. Stephen Hawking diagnosed at age 21. He is currently 74. Do you really believe he has had ALS for 53 years? If so, you probably believe his ridiculous theories also. I have no idea. I don't even know what ALS is.
I don't either.
Is that what it is? How come it's called ALS and not Lewy disease? The heliocentric model is a lie. Open your mind and look at the evidence. What makes more sense? Oh, we can't do the what makes more sense because nobody will get that. But 1.5 quadrillion tons of water stick perfectly level on a ball that is spinning faster than the speed of sound while spiraling around a burning ball of hydrogen at 50 times that speed while chasing a burning ball at over 700 times the speed of sound, or the Earth is flat and stationary and just as we experience it. Huh? I don't know. I like rocketing through space. I like space. All of the steeples in this picture were completely blocked by the opaqueness of the sky until the sun moved in line and backlit them. The closest one is over 20 miles away. If we lived on a globe the size we are told, there would be over 266 feet of curvature blocking their view. So this is something he says is 20 miles away. Of course, we can't. There's no Google map of it, so we have no idea. But yeah, you don't. You can look at anything that's tall, any landmark at all you can see in the distance. Look it up on Google Maps or whatever, and figure out how far away it actually is. And if you look at any with any sort of an optic system, if you can see the base of the whatever you're looking at, obviously the Earth is flat. You're going to zoom. It's going to look like it goes over the curve, and then you zoom in on it, and there it is. And then the horizon is back behind it. It's what always happens. And that has to do with your eyes. You can't see forever. We're limited by our eyes. We're limited by our vision. Can't do everything with your eyes, except get tricked. You can get tricked a lot with your eyes. We don't have time for the meeting of the Flat Earth Society. Remember that? Oh, the irony. And he's got the flat Earth map. Dun, dun, dun. Was probably one of my main contributors. Number one, for looking into the flat Earth. I listened to their points and kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I realized that no one uses flat Earth for any of their jobs. And right there is like instantly I know it's a lie. Let me just back it up a little bit. Oh, the UN symbol is also the flat Earth map. Oh, okay. Now it's like I'm basically on board for the entire thing. And what got me was the counter rotations of stars and how the constellations work and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know what? 8 inches per mile squared. It doesn't matter what the stars do. It really doesn't. I don't need to know the model of that before I can, I can't deny reality for any longer. It's ridiculous. If this side of the Earth is lit up by the sun, where is the moon's shadow on the Earth? That's a very good point, and I've never thought of that.
Exactly, because it gives off its own light.
And why isn't the moon lit up? Why don't we have a big shadow on the Earth? I have never heard this one before. Why don't we have a big shadow on the Earth?
I talked about it a little bit in the first video, but yeah, basically the moon gives off its own light.
Well, I know the moon gets off its own light. We know this. I'm talking about what's the official explanation of why we don't have a shadow.
I don't know. They never talk about that one. It's just the same reason why does the sun burn in a vacuum when there's no oxygen present?
Well, nobody knows what the sun is. I'm talking about like if you have a globe and you have a tennis ball and you have a flashlight, and even if you have that ball anywhere in front of the flashlight, not even directly in front of it, you're going to have a shadow.
Yeah.
We never have a shadow ever at any point ever in time on Earth. I don't understand.
Oh, but it does when it passes in front of the sun during a solar eclipse. That's one of their explanations.
But even then, we don't have a shadow
Not really.
because round Earth is so confusing. I'm just trying to think of like how would they explain not having a shadow? That's so weird. Is like, how do you explain not having a shadow? Yeah. Proofs of the globe. Number 1, NASA images. It's photoshopped, but it has to be. Robert Simmons, NASA artist. And anyone can look that interview up on YouTube. NASA artist says everything is photoshopped coming from NASA because it has to be. Number 2, public indoctrination. We know because a scientist has said so. And 3, popular opinion. Everyone else believes it, so it must be true.
Right.
So, hi, I am Tim Peake, and I have been in space for 6 months. Okay.
You mean social distancing?
I don't understand what the joke is or what they're referring to. I mean, obviously he wasn't. I guess they don't like Tim Peake.
Well, it's because it's a lie. He was not in space for 6 months.
Right.
And yeah, what's that?
I mean, like how you could actually, your body would function after 6 months in 0G is impossible. No.
Right.
The Earth is flat and motionless, and we can prove this by people balancing stones all over everything. There's a guy, I saw this actually on like Discovery Channel or something like that. This is the guy. Have you seen this guy? Who he makes a living going into parks and he just felt like stacking stones one day, and he stacks things in the most strangest ways that you would think would fall over. He finds like the absolute perfect yeah, it's cool. I don't forget this guy's name is, but that's like his hobby. But yeah, it's obviously the Earth is motionless. You have stuff like this. What's the incentive to lie? NASA budget for 2016, $52 million a day. Yeah, it's more like 100 million now. And they wanted to, with our new initiative they wanted out there for roving task people to mask people up and start their new agency. They wanted like $20 billion or something, or $100 billion for that project for only 1 year, which is actually like 3 or 4 times what the NASA budget was. That's all just cloud talk though, but that's where they think of money. Whatever, and at any cost, deceive them. All they have to do is take a picture like this, and you'll believe whatever they tell you. Yeah. I got he's even waving his flag. Oh, that's sad. I'm not. You might as well be holding a Coke can or something, right? The flag in one hand, the Coke in the other, and maybe like a Marlboro or something. I don't know.
Might as well just be a white flag.
Yeah.
I surrender my rights.
Yep. He needs a mask. People believe that this CGI satellite is being remotely controlled from 365 miles away. But flat earthers are gullible. Yeah. How are they communicating and controlling, and like, especially with the moon landing? You're going to send imagery like that back 260,000 miles or 230, whatever it is, from the moon? Ridiculous.
Sure.
Completely ridiculous, considering, you go around the block through a tunnel and you can't use your cell phone, right? That's how wonderful this technology is. You lose control of your RC cars and after 100 feet, Mars versus Greenland. Uh-oh. Somebody let the cat out of the bag of where they took the pictures of Mars. See, not everybody is controlled, people. Not everybody is controlled. Some of the people that work for these organizations come to channels like this and figure out that they've been lied to, and that they're part of a training mission or something in Greenland to see how their robot is going to work on Mars, right? That's what they tell them. We're going to operate it in Greenland, and we're going to take samples as if we were on Mars. This is our training exercise, right? And then what they do is they take all of that data, they go home, and everyone goes back to their original states and back and works on a different project and forget all about the training exercise with the robot that they plan to send to Mars, right? Until they realize that the place they were is just photoshopped red, right? And then they release the photos and send photos off to flat earth people so that they can expose it and release it and go, look, I was here doing the training thing with this robot, and they just color shaded it and released it and said they're on Mars. 100% guaranteed. That's what happened here. It's the exact shot. Somebody was there and released that. That's not an accidental guy in Greenland going, this looks like the NASA photo. It's the same thing with the picture of like Buzz Aldrin or one of them guys in front of the sand dune training, and then the picture of the moon. The guy who was there at the sand dune took the picture to say, yeah, it's the same picture. Gyroscopes hold rigidity in space. If an airplane traveling at 500 miles per hour would need to nose down a full mile every 2 minutes to prevent itself from flying off into space. And we're going to keep reiterating this and reiterating because everybody is flown on an airplane. Everybody knows what that's like. Okay. They travel flat. Okay. They travel flat and straight and true to get where they're going. What they want you to believe is they're riding around the curve. And if that were the case, you would feel less gravity, less weight as you rode the curve, because they'd have to nose down the entire way.
And one of the ways they try to explain that away is by saying it's gravity holding the plane in perfect.
Well, yeah, but the gyro, and that's fine, but the gyroscope doesn't care, and all of your instruments are based on your gyroscope,
right?
And gyroscope is not an electronic thing. This is a physical principle of physics.
Right.
These are physical laws, centrifugal force. That's how a gyroscope works. And even in the super fancy dancy laser ring gyroscopes, there is still a piece of metal in there spinning around really fast, because that's how they work. And the gyroscope does not care at all about what the plane is doing or anything else. All it cares about is following the level line that it was started on. So it works like a top. You spin up a top gets up off its side. The faster it spins, the straighter and straighter and more rigid it spins and stands up straight. That's how a gyroscope works. So once it's up and spinning, it's going level. It doesn't care what the Earth's doing or the plane or anything else. And that's how they work. And, even if the plane held by gravity was going to be doing one of these numbers, you would feel it. And all of your instruments would say, by the time you got here, you just gained another 10,000 feet. You just gained another 15,000 feet. You gained another 20,000 feet, even though you're flying level on a ball. You'd constantly be gaining altitude. So, yeah. What do we have here? We have the CGI green screen. The only thing NASA has ever sent into space is your imagination. Yeah. I'm not sure where they get some of these photos from. Picture of Antarctica is the shoreline that surrounds our oceans. Okay. There's another picture. I don't know if that's Antarctica or what. I don't think so.
Nobody knows.
Why is Antarctica the most guarded place on Earth? And the picture is just of the penguins. Because if people were allowed to go there freely, they would discover that we live on a flat Earth, and the powers that be would lose control of their minds. Yeah, of course, this is what they tell us is there. So number one, why would anyone want to go to Antarctica? There's just penguins there. Number two, it's a huge pain. And number three, hey, you decided you want to go to Antarctica? Well, we have treaties in place with 150, 160 countries that say we all agree that we have to protect the penguins for environmental reasons, and nobody can go to Antarctica. Because you would think, well, if there's nothing there, there's nothing I could mess up, right? Why? Who cares if I go to Antarctica? Nothing's there. Who would care? Oh, no. The penguins care. Penguins care. Here is our picture we showed last time. Official NASA photo of Pluto, the planet. Official Disney photo of Pluto. And I don't know why they put the ears up like that. It's quite obvious that you look at the Pluto here, his ear is right here. See.
Yeah.
I have trouble with their propaganda. We got to get your propaganda right. But yeah. I literally think that's what happened is old Walt said, yeah, I'll help you out with the space program, but I want my own planet. And that's why they couldn't decide if Pluto was going to be a planet after a while, because Disney wasn't putting up their end of the bargain. And they're like, well, we're going to get rid of Pluto then. And Disney's like, no. And then when they came out with Planet X and Pluto became a planet again.
Yeah.
I mean, people like think that this stuff is like deep-seated, really involved, well thought out propaganda ideas. No. Don't overthink things, people. I mean, honestly, like what you see is what you get. Yes, those CGI's mess ups aren't like big mass. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is out on the internet. It's like they don't care. They're just they don't care. It's what they can do. It's what you see is what you get. Disney wanted to put Pluto on their official thing, so they did it because they thought it would be a neat gag, like a high schooler, just like on the Little Mermaid posters and all that stuff. That's who these people are. There's nothing real deep there. There's just I want to have my cartoon character on a planet on propaganda, and it fits because they're both propaganda machines. Fits perfect. Hang out with me too long, I'll brainwash you into thinking for yourself. Sure. No matter how high you ascend, the horizon will always rise to eye level, which again is impossible on a ball. Here's the picture I borrowed. Yeah. Oh, that's neat. Is that Mount Fuji, you think?
I think, yeah.
Wow. All earthers be like, you're too small to see the curve.
Sure.
But I can see that ship at sea falling behind it. Yeah. Yeah. Lighthouses don't work on a ball Earth. Just the reason that this is significant, and that's kind of a minor point, is just that lighthouses depend on line of sight. So if you can't see the lighthouse more than a couple miles out, then what difference does a lighthouse make?
Something else too, just speaking about lights and stuff like that. Have you ever noticed like there's like some real tall like radio towers like in the middle of nowhere sometimes?
Yeah, I always thought there were cell towers, but
well, they're used for radio broadcasting too, but yeah, they're really tall and they have like the big red lights on top of them.
Yeah.
And you can see them for 30 miles plus or so.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I haven't been on a road trip in a while, but you can see a lot of things when you're driving through these open plains of America in the Midwest and stuff. Because a lot of the country is flat in the Midwest where I'm around, and yeah, you can see things. You can see 35W South goes to Chicago from where I'm from, and you can see Chicago like 20, 30 miles before you even get to Chicago.
Right.
Because everything there is flat. And it's like, when you start seeing Chicago, you have another 2 hours of driving. It's that ridiculous. And then as you get through Chicago, it's in your rearview mirror for like two hours. Because Chicago is massive and it's in the middle of like nothing. With Lake Michigan on the side of it. Yeah, it's like it's just this monolith that never leaves your mirror, and it's like, yeah, that's impossible. I shouldn't be able to see that. That's Earth curve.
Kind of like I don't know if you've ever been to Texas or not, but Texas is the same way.
Oh yeah.
And Dallas, Texas, you can see it an hour out before you even get there.
Which would be 60 miles an hour. Actually, in Texas, you can do 75, can't you? Or 80?
It's 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, so if you're like around an hour out, you're like somewhere between 50 and 80 miles from your destination and you can see it. Completely impossible. And I don't care about elevation from where you're at to where you're looking, it's like elevation ain't going to make that much of a difference. I mean, how many thousands of feet is that going to have to be? Yeah, ridiculous. We brought this up on the last stream too. There's our fake satellites. Globe earthers believe this is going on in the sky. Yeah, junk everywhere, right? We have to, because I got my internet, and now I got my Netflix. Search the web for satellites in space. You'll get nothing but CGI, and we did that in real time. This here is the picture that I was referring to. That there's a YouTube video that actually has this in motion for the North Star. The North Star Polaris is stationary and never moves. How is this possible on a spinning ball hurling through space? The only thing we know about planets is told to us by fake NASA and Disney.
And if you look up any videos of Jupiter, it's always spinning. Well, when I view it through my camera, it does not spin. The red dot stays perfectly in the same spot every night.
Oh yeah, just like the moon. It's always the same. Saturn always appears the same too. But
Saturn's
you know,
the same as well.
They have higher resolution images and more competent artists to CGI.
Oh yeah. Mars is the one planet I haven't found yet. Like looking at it through a camera.
Mars comes in really good. It kind of sort of, I guess it kind of looks like that. It actually has like a stripe on it though, looking at it.
Right. Is it close to Jupiter at all?
It moves around.
Okay.
If space were real, perhaps this is what you would see. Oh, from the actual lander, China moon lander, Origina photos. China. This is the China moon lander. Did they actually say that they went to? They actually say they went to China, the moon. Did China do that?
I didn't even know that.
Me either. You'd think we'd know. We can't get back to the moon because of Van Allen radiation. Well, ask the Chinese. Have the Chinese take you in their Chinesium rocket. This is apparently the picture they sent back, though. No stars. And this is probably what it would look like if you were outside of the atmosphere looking up, right? Just lights everywhere. The International Fake Station. The 747 is almost as large as the International Space Station. Okay, so I have the comparisons here. With the space station is about as long as a football field, but it's not very thick. When cruising at altitude of 5 miles, the 747 appears as a small speck in the sky. And 5 miles is roughly 30,000 feet. Not that far up there. If a 747 was twice the normal height, 10 miles, it would be unseeable with the human eye, which right. I have no reason to disbelieve that that's an accurate number. And twice the height would be 60,000 feet. Okay, so at 60,000 feet, a 747 would be invisible to anyone's eye. We are asked to believe we can see the ISS at 50 times that height. But, you know, we got an app that tracks it, right? Isn't that how it works? And they put a blinky light on it. They put a blinky light so you can see it. That's what I'm told anyway. Condemnation before investigation is your admission to indoctrination. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Whilst we sit drinking our cup of coffee or tea, the world is supposedly rotating at 1,039 miles per hour at the equator, whizzing around the sun, 66.6, not 5 miles per hour, hurtling towards the Lyra at 20,000 miles per hour, revolving around the center, the Milky Way at 660,000 miles per hour, merrily moving at God knows what velocity. The Big Bang, not even a hint of a ripple in the surface of our drink, yet tap the table lightly with your little finger and, yeah, become so fake. Yeah, okay. Society has become so fake that the truth actually bothers people. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But that's the truth. Truth always hurts people. Some people. who operate on a facade of imaginary life and imaginary bubbles and imaginary everything. If I just take a picture of myself having fun, I can post it on Facebook, and that will make other people think I'm having fun. Yeah. Mirror image impossible on a curved surface. Checkmate. Earth is flat. Absolutely true. You would have a funhouse mirror effect if the water was curved in any way, shape, or form, and it's not. A lot of good stuff in this book. For anyone watching, the link is in the description. It's just a PDF file. It's free. No, there's no nothing to it. It's at flatearthpodcast.com. NASA artist works for hours creating this stuff. Gets to Uranus and has a creative block. Imagine that. Yeah. All these wonderful things that took hours to paint, and then we'll just throw some blue on there and a ball, color done. Let's see. Not once in over 20 years of Hubble's history has it turned around and taken a single picture of the Earth or the Moon. There's more with tinfoil on it. That's space tinfoil. Space tinfoil. And I think that is the end. Cheers to all the people who can change their minds when presented with new information that contradicts their unsupported beliefs. Dun, dun, dun. Knowing is knowing. And the only thing NASA sent is your imagination. They do a lot of this stuff where they use Photoshop, copy and paste. Of course, it's commonplace now. So that is the Hoaxed book. What'd you think, Jeremy?
That was great.
Yeah, I almost want to get one for the coffee table or something, have one printed out, but apparently they're expensive.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So is it possible your entire life is a lie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything they ever believed and everything I ever was taught growing up is a lie.
I don't know if you catch anything in chat. I have not been paying attention because I've been reading.
Eli had a question. Space Force is likely a black site project. Wouldn't you think?
Space Force?
Yeah, this was back when Trump was running.
I guess it's something to do with Donald Trump. I don't know.
Oh, I think he was joking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I honestly think he was joking and nobody got it.
Gotcha.
Because that's a reference to the Netflix series.
Okay.
There's with Steve Carell. And Steve Carell mentions it has like a flat earth thing in there where Steve Carell's trying to keep his rocket program going to do this, that, or the other thing and trying to prove he's a big responsible person or something. And he was part of Space Force. And I think Donald Trump was joking, and because nobody got it, he just ran with the joke. And nobody called him on it. And it's like, obviously nobody listens to what these politicians have to say. Because I was thinking about it, I'm like, I was kind of curious about that myself. I'm like, he wants how much money for a space marine force? I'm like, what? And yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, huh? I mean, because knowing that space is fake is like, what? Like, how are you? I'm thinking to myself, how are they possibly gonna hoax that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I had to come to the conclusion that, oh, he had to have been joking and nobody got it. That had to be what it was. Because he was joking a lot before that. And one joke that he did that I got a kick out of, he said, as we enter into the re-election cycle, I get this thing comes across my Twitter feed. Sometimes every so often, once in a while, I'll happen to check the Twitter feed. And because president's on the Twitter all the time. So that was it. That was one joke. And he goes, I get this notification that says the Democrats and Joe Biden are for dismembering the police departments. And I just tweeted, thanks for getting me reelected. And you'd think that it's like, ha ha ha, yeah, how stupid, get rid of the police departments, ha ha, lefties. But you know what? These people were like, yeah, you should get rid of the police department. It was like, yeah, because that's one of those things that didn't go according to their plan. They want to throw the mask thing out there. Nobody was really going for it, but they got to test their system and see what kind of, okay, how can Bezos, does he have the trucks ready? Do we have enough masks? Does Bezos have the trucks? Does he have the employees? Okay, well, we're going to be good. Well, no one's wearing the mask and no one believes us. Okay, all right. Well, then we'll do Plan B, Black Lives Matter. We'll Black Floyd the operation. All right. And they go out there and they start ripping everything down. And of course, they're like, hey, this is going to be great. We'll have all these black people we can throw in prison again. That's what they're thinking. And then they go and then they burn down the police department and all this stuff. And white people are clapping and going, yeah, we're going to get rid of these police. And it's like, okay, that's enough of that. Remember COVID? Remember, we're phase 2 now. It's phase 2, guys. Phase 2. Forget all about Black Lives Matter. No, phase 2. We don't want you disassembling our satanic organizations that pretend to protect you. We have a lot of work and money involved there. We don't want you to mess that up. So we're going to go back to phase 2. Everybody get your masks back on. Jeff Bezos has the supply chain ready. Don't worry, everybody with Prime, you'll get your stuff in 2 days like you're used to. We have all the kinks worked out. Now you can just stay home. Forget all about Black Floyd. We don't want to dismantle all of our police departments across the nation because it would be the right thing to do. We don't want to do that. So yeah. Is it possible your entire life is a lie? I'm not jaded, I swear. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we'll ever go back to normal life ever again.
Well, they already told you they're not. They have no intention of going back to normal. Our Governor Walz guy apparently did his speech today for Minnesota, and everyone's like, well, he's going to mandate something or another. Oh, no, he said he's going to maybe mandate something on Saturday if the people who refuse to wear masks don't put masks on, right? And then he compares the type of, I don't know if it's legislation. He says this type of mandate is like seatbelts in cars and non-smoking sections. So they're very clearly making the indication that it's never going away. It's just part of the new life and the new normal is everybody gets to wear bondage masks on, and that's just the way that it's supposed to be. And I mean, they can say whatever they want to, but at the end of the day, until they pass a law and then they're responsible for doing something, then it doesn't really matter. They like I said before in my other video, the governor guy can go up there and make it a requirement that everyone at all employees at all these stores need to wear assless chaps. And that's about the exact same thing. There is no difference because there is no COVID. There is no nothing. So it's as ridiculous a requirement of making people wear chaps like that as it is to making people wear a mask. It's the same thing. The guy's not my king. I don't work for the guy. There's no laws in there. So it's a nonsense, arbitrary law, or not law, but mandate, which after thinking about it, I'm pretty sure is voluntary even for the stores. And there is nothing they can do to the stores. They can't revoke any business licenses because, again, they have not passed any laws, which would put the government on the hook for any problems that occur as a result of, if someone passes out and falls in the meat grinder, as it is, right? If it was a law, you could sue the government for making people wear masks. But if it's a voluntary thing, well, then nobody's getting sued for nothing because you put the mask on yourself, right?
It's a consent thing.
Exactly. And people are so free. They have the authority and the ability to consent to giving all their rights away and make themselves slaves. And they do it all the time. So, yeah. That is the world we live in. What do we have in the chat here? I have not been paying very good, as in at all, attention. If there's anyone has anything specific to me, it's at JPS, should bring me up. And you're at, what is your name on here? Jeremy, are you at?
I don't think I have my YouTube channel attached to this, no.
Oh, is it going to be at Jeremy or something?
I guess, or I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what it is.
Well, there's only like a half dozen people watching, so I think we'll figure it out. Hey Phil, how's it going? Let's see. A mere sun flash can be seen 30 miles farther with a telescope. Record distance was established by U.S. Signal Corps, 183 miles. That's a great point. The military operates exclusively on a flat Earth. Okay, exclusively, except big tough boy liars that say they were scout snipers and calculated Earth curve. That's the only place in the military you're ever going to hear of anybody calculating Earth curve is Marine scout snipers that think that they're Tom Berenger in the movie The Sniper. Yes.
Ugh.
Funny how nobody talks about it anymore is only like COVID. Yeah, it'll come back. I mean, the idea is you got to get people fighting with each other, and they want to get the no maskers fighting with the maskers, because the maskers are under the impression that if just everybody wore a mask, we wouldn't have to have laws, and we wouldn't have to have this and that. Look, it doesn't matter. Everybody could wear a mask, and they're just going to pass the law because they're going to say, well, it looks like everybody approves of the fact that we're enslaving them, so we're just going to go ahead and make that law. It's always the plan. Okay. And it doesn't matter if there's no COVID out there and nobody's dying. It doesn't matter. They're going to do another wave and make something actually happen, or they'll do Black Floyd again. This is how they go. There's a huge problem right now with the economic system. They got to do a whole bunch of restructuring and figuring out what they're going to do with all their programs and all that. And they're just trying to keep people busy. So the best thing that anybody can do in any of this stuff is just ignore it and don't comply with nonsense. If you just stick to don't comply with nonsense, you'll be fine. All right. Wait and see what happens. There's businesses already in Minnesota, the lockdown or whatever, the masking, in Monday this week, a whole bunch of businesses after Walmart went to masking, a whole bunch of businesses jumped on the bandwagon. And then here it is Wednesday, and there's some chains that are jumping off and making it very publicly known that, hey, we're not requiring any masks. You bring whatever you want in here, because guess what? It's cost them a lot of money to stay open, and no one's walking through them doors. So, all you can do is you just not comply with nonsense. You need to go somewhere, be prepared to hassle them and give them a hard time. Either they can shop for you, or you're an exempt person. When they ask you what exemption for, I said, pick one. I don't have to wear nothing. I'm exempt. Whatever you're going to do, order from Jeff Bezos on Amazon. Okay. Until they completely abandon this whole idea of mark of the beast. You need to have a mask or you won't be served, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's it. You don't have to go out there and go protest. I mean, that's just as silly. It's all the left's fault. It's all the left's fault. And no, come on. It's nothing to do with politics at all. This is the system they want to implement. They have to keep everyone sufficiently confused and fighting amongst each other so they can rob as much money as they can before they crash the economy. Okay. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. So the best you can do is just look out for yourself and don't comply with nonsense. And you'll be all right. Oh, and the earth is flat. That too. So. Oh, yes. And iron Fe repercussions to those that forced vaccines. Well, at the moment, the only ones that I'm aware of that are forced vaccines effectively are the military. And even they're not. Even they have to submit to it, as in like they have to give their consent. Even the military folks, if you don't want all the stuff, they just make your life miserable. It's how it is. It's all been by consent. They don't make it easy. I never said it's easy. Not going with the flow is never easy. So yeah. Anything else you got, man?
I think that's it.
All right. So this has been the Table Book, the Hoax. I don't know. We'll be bringing some. What else you got? You got exciting, fantastic topics you want to talk about, Jeremy?
Not on top of my head, but I'm sure we'll think of something.
Yeah, I'm sure the government will explode in the next 2 days, and we'll find something then.
I'm just gonna blame gravity.
Yeah, well, it's always gravity's fault. It's always gravity's fault. All right, so then with that, I think we are going to be out of here. Thanks everyone for stopping by, like, subscribe, and share stuff around to people around the fence if you believe, or unbelievers. If you have people out there who may be open to this type of stuff, send them a link and go, what do you think of this? Do you think flat earth is nonsense or what? Because it's kind of important, because once you if they can lie about the shape of the earth, you really have to call into question really every single thing you've ever been taught.
Exactly.
And when you can prove it for yourself by something as simply as going to find a flat road somewhere, or a landmark that's 10 miles away that you can see out your bedroom window, that's a problem. And like something that's 20 miles away, you pretty much shouldn't be able to see like a tower, cell phone tower at all. Even if you're in a second floor window, there's that much curve. There's that much. And the only thing that a globe earther has to say about that is, well, you don't even know your calculations. It's 8 inches per mile squared is not a globe earth mathematics. And then you go, do you know that for a fact, sir? It says in this, and they're reading it off a Rational Wiki. I bust a lot of guys reading it off a Rational Wiki, and I go, 8 inches per mile squared is valid up to like 1,058 miles. Did you not know that? It's not the right calculate. No, 8 inches per mile squared is an easy version measuring the parabola of a circle, because obviously you can't see around behind yourself. So it's a parabola, goes out to like somewhere around 1,100 miles. It's around 1,000 miles to 1,100, which is good enough for anything because we can't see that far anyway. So if you're measuring out 20 miles because you see something across a lake, okay, 10 inches per the miles. And then the miles you square depending on how many miles it is. So it's 8 inches per 1 mile, okay? Or if you're going 2 miles, then it'd be 8 times 2. If you're going 3 miles, then you're taking the 3 and you're squaring it. Okay, well, 2 miles would be 4. But so 8 inches times 3 miles, and the 3 times 3, because it's squared, so it'd be 8 inches times 9, which comes out to 72 inches. So at 3 miles, a person who's standing 6 feet tall should not be able to see another person who's 6 feet tall at 3 miles. That would be your horizon, and that would be as far as you could possibly see as a person 6 feet tall is 3 miles. Okay, on a flat plane or globe or whatever, on a globe. Well, the problem is you can see way farther than that. And that's all you got to know. That's it. It's easy. You don't need any spectacular trigonometry and gravity and magnetism and mirages and all of this bogus nonsense that they have to come up to justify. Never mind the fact that they're polluting, children's minds with this stuff, along with 4.6 billion years and evolution, and everything came here from nothing, kids. Yay! Nonsense. Don't ever conform to nonsense. Okay. You're going with the flow. Some people have to do that for their job's sake or something. You got to be careful with what you're going to go with the flow with too. All right. Doesn't take very much to upset the system. Doesn't take very much to upset that apple cart. All right. So I think that's what I have with that. You got any last words, Jeremy?
I think I'm good, man.
All right. Until next time, guys. We'll see you later.